When I was younger, I had this notion, and I was taught this by the denomination that I was part of. It's what I learned. It was just what seemed to make sense to me, was that I had to believe everything correctly, that the doctrines of the church that I believed, that I assented to, that they needed to be right. Because if you believe something that's not true, then that would be a problem. And this was, whether it was an explicit or implicit, and it was very explicit in that denomination because they had the truth. And so the doctrines that they presented were what was true, and that means they were right and everyone else was wrong. And this mentality was one that I grew up with, that I learned, and I would hold to, because obviously you need to believe the right doctrines. You need to have the right understanding of the gospel and the scriptures of the whole Bible. What happened was, as I went along, at a point in my life, after growing up in this and living most of my adult life believing this notion, I was challenged in my reading of the Bible, in the scriptures, and it changed what I saw and understood. And I realized, as God opened and gave me more new revelation and opened an understanding of the scriptures that I had not had before, that what I had clung to, believing I was right, that others were wrong, was in fact itself wrong. And that was somewhat of a difficult process and journey at that time, because again, I learned that I was supposed to have been doing this and believing the right thing. And yet I could see in the midst of my journey, in which I believed things that I now understood were not true, were inaccurate, were mistaken and misunderstood, misinterpreted, that even in the midst of that, God as my Father was still very much involved in my life. And I'm thankful to Him. He does not wait and does not require you to have all the right doctrines and belief. He doesn't put that as one of the criteria. The gospel can be summed up in Jesus Himself, who is the good news. He is the revelation of God, and eternal life is in Him, is nowhere else. Salvation is His work and His faithfulness. We'll look at one verse that actually addresses this a little bit, that it's not about believing and having the right doctrines. It is something that's much more fundamental and much simpler. In Romans chapter 4, we're going to look at verse 5. In Romans chapter 4, before verse 5, the Apostle Paul is talking about Abraham, and he quotes that Abraham believed and it was accounted in him for righteousness. And it wasn't by his works, but merely, as the word is translated, he believed. So in verse 5 of Romans chapter 4, the apostle says, "But to him who does not work," okay, so the one who is not doing it right, who is not trying to get everything in order, who is not striving to make sure that he believes all the right things and does all the right things, it's not about that. But to him who doesn't work, but, and this is what it is about, but believes on him who justifies the ungodly, his faith is accounted for righteousness. So now he's speaking to you. You're not working in order to make yourself. It's not about, as I was saying, believing the right doctrines. That's a work. I'm trying to be in the right place by having all this right stuff and get it all in the line. And the thing was, as I said, I believed those things that I said I believed, but they weren't mine. I assented to them. I agreed with them, but they weren't mine. I didn't really believe it. Because believe here, he says, the but believes on him. What does that mean? It simply means trusts. Trust him. Trust God. Put your trust in him. That's what the root of that word believe is, the same word that's translated faith. The one that trusts in him. The one who trusts in him who justifies, who makes righteous, is what that means. The ungodly, those who don't trust God, who don't worship God, the unworshippers, the unreverent, the untrusting. He takes those, the ungodly, and makes them righteous, justifies them. That's what the word means. Justify means to be made righteous. His faith, his trust is accounted for righteousness. What's the point? Your righteousness, your right standing, your position, your life, your knowledge and intimacy with and of God, it's his work. Your salvation is not about because you believe the right things. That's not the criteria. The criteria is Jesus and him crucified. You trust even when you don't understand and don't see. And see, the thing about it is, as you trust him, he is faithful to lead you and guide you into all understanding. It's not that you have it right. It's that you have him. He is what matters.